Caltris Prime was meant to be the safest planet in the galaxy. A neutral world, wrapped in peace agreements, orbiting twin suns that never cast shadows. It had hosted treaties between old enemies, ceasefires between warring factions, and the foundation of alliances that lasted centuries. No weapons were allowed inside its atmosphere, and warships were permitted within 5 light-years of its orbit. So when Earth's most respected diplomat Envoy Cassandra, Vale landed to meet with alien leaders and negotiate a multi-empire peace pact. No one expected anything but smiles, handshakes, and declarations of unity. Then the signal cut at exactly 1400 hours. The secure uplink from Cassandra's diplomatic shuttle went dark. Earth's command station tried re-establishing the feed. No response. The alien host channels gave nothing but static. The orbital surveillance satellites over Caltris showed no signs of attack, but something wasn't right. 8 minutes later, an emergency return drone launched itself from the planet's surface unauthorized. Off course, and moving far faster than protocol allowed. It docked with Earth's orbiting relay, the side scorched and one of its thrusters flickering. Inside it was a single object, a metal box wrapped in the flag of the United Earth Council. Inside the box was Cassandra Vale dead. Her body was untouched. No wounds, no blood, no signs of violence. Her diplomatic insignia was still clipped to her suit. Her eyes were open, wide, staring as if frozen in the middle of a scream. But the data chip embedded in her skull, Earth's most secure neural recorder, was gone. Removed. No burns, no scars. Just gone. Something had taken it cleanly and left her as a warning. But the message was not clear. No note. No claim. No enemy took responsibility. There was only silence from Caltris and a lifeless envoy in Earth's hands. Earth did not wait. The emergency council met for less than 15 minutes. No votes. No debate. The old protocols kicked in ones written not for diplomacy, but for what comes after diplomacy fails. A black-coded launch signal called Echo Red was sent through the Terran Armada. Within 3 hours, 47 ships broke orbit from the Mars ring. Within 5, Titan-class carriers jumped from lunar bases. By dawn, Earth's fleet was in motion across 20 star systems. No explanation, no official response, no message. To the galactic powers, Earth had been silent for 100 years. Its armies hidden, its armies hidden. Now, it moved like a beast that had never stopped sharpening its claws. Admiral Pierce Kane stood aboard the bridge of the TSS Deliverance, watching the stars stretch into void. He didn't ask questions. He didn't give speeches. Cassandra Vale had trained him years ago. She taught him how to win with words, how to disarm with truth, how to forge unity in cold rooms filled with fear. And now she was dead. A world that swore peace. Murdered by someone who didn't leave their name. All he had left was the image of her face, still frozen in the returned drone. And the haunting truth. Someone wanted Earth to remain blind and afraid. That wasn't going to happen. Earth had launched its fleet not to make demands, but to make statements. It didn't threaten to burn Caltris Prime. It sent ships capable of cracking moons. It didn't ask for answers. It prepared for extraction. By force, something had violated the last rule Earth ever honored. Do not touch the envoys. Now that line had been crossed, and there would be no more talking. The flags of peace were taken down. The code of silence was lifted. The iron oath of vow Earth had buried deep after the last galactic war was reactivated. Meanwhile, in the distant system of Varan Zix, a lone scientist picked up a strange signal. It was faint, buried beneath the static of old military bands. But the signature was clear. It matched Cassandra Vale's neural ID. That shouldn't be possible. Her chip had been removed, her brain clinically declared shut down. Yet the signal persisted, weak, pulsing, as if echoing from a dying star. The tech team rerouted it, tried to track it, but every time they locked in on the origin, the coordinates shifted. It wasn't coming from one place. It was coming from everywhere. Back on Earth, analysts reviewed the last known data from Cassandra's shuttle. They enhanced audio feeds, ran thermal scans, dissected every nanosecond. And then they found at less than 2 seconds of sound before the signal cut. A whisper. Not Cassandra's voice. Something older. Something wrong. The translator failed to make sense of it, but one technician ran the waveform against a historic database. What came back made them freeze. The tone structure matched an ancient warning beacon found near the edge of the galaxy, carved into the side of a derelict world that predated known civilization. The phrase it translated to had only 4 words. She saw too much. Who was she? What did she see? The answer didn't matter to Earth, because they already knew what to do. They would go to Caltris, Prime. They would break the no-fly zone. They would bypass the diplomatic chains and planetary councils. If no one gave them answers, they would pull them out by force. The fleet moved like a hammer. No ceremony. And Admiral Kane carried only one message now. Whoever took Cassandra Vale would learn what Earth did when peace was killed. The death of one envoy was not the end. It was the ignition point. And across the galaxy, in every corner that had once dismissed Earth as soft, distant, and content with peace. Lights began to flicker. Signals went quiet. Empires whispered to themselves the same thought. Earth is coming. The stars above Mars shimmered unnaturally as Earth's response fleet tore through orbit silent, massive and utterly determined. 47 ships, each a symbol of Earth's buried might, thundered from the red planet's shipyards in synchronized precision. The launch was not televised. No media announcement followed. Earth had no need to justify its actions. The ancient code Echo Red had been triggered. And in Earth's military language, that code meant one thing: no diplomacy, no delay. Full retaliation. Admiral Pierce Kane stood on the bridge of the TSS Deliverance, his hands locked behind, his back staring into the tactical map that pulsed across the command wall. Bright red trails marked each fleet detachment, pushing out across multiple jump lanes toward the Caltris system. The green light at the center of the map marked CV. For Cassandra Vale flickered once, then vanished completely. Signal was gone. It's not just cut off. Erased. And no trace of the data chip removed from her brain had been found in any spectrum. That kind of precision wasn't normal, not even for the most advanced alien empires. Someone hadn't just killed Earth's top diplomat, they had deleted her. Pierce had once believed in peace. Cassandra had taught him that words could do more damage than weapons if spoken at the right moment. But as he watched Earth's war machine come alive, he knew that moment had passed. The Terran Armada was not built for occupation or display. It was built for annihilation. Ships bore names that were whispered in the old war, records the Deliverance, the Iron Halo, the Vindication, or the Dirge. These were vessels designed during Earth's darkest years, mothballed in deep space. Vaults, hidden from public eyes under the illusion of progress and peace. But they had never been dismantled. They had simply waited, and now they had been called. Somewhere deep within Earth's defense grid, an AI named Gravemind 7 executed the Launch Echo protocol. This protocol did more than deploy fleets. It activated dormant listening posts. Scattered across fringe systems, it reawakened codebreakers stationed in silent relay stations on dead moons. It pushed old Cold War satellites into orbit once more, scanning for ancient enemy signatures. And it sent a single message, buried under layers of encryption, to Earth's Shadow Council. It's a message that read, "The knife is returned." Meanwhile, in a hidden lab beneath Earth's crust, a discovery was made that chilled the bones of everyone who saw it. The preservation team examining Cassandra Vale's body found an anomaly beneath the base of her skull, a thin carbon black strand fused directly to her brainstem. It wasn't human. It wasn't organic. It pulsed faintly, like it was alive, or still receiving a signal. Every attempt to remove it failed. The strand resisted scanners, burned through tools, and grew hotter the deeper they went. When the science team finally cut off power to the room, the strand flickered out like a dying ember. But just before it dimmed, it whispered something in a voice so soft, only one AI picked it up. Not ready, still watching. Back on the Deliverance, Admiral Kane received an encrypted data burst from Earth's command center. He read it in silence. The bridge around him held its breath, waiting for his command. The message was short, just 2 words. Confirm cleansing. Kane nodded once and turned to his helmsman. Plot jump to Caltris, he said. Full fleet formation. No warnings. No mercy. The officers obeyed without hesitation. There were no second thoughts aboard Earth's warships, not after what had been done. The death of a single envoy might not matter to the wider galaxy, but to Earth it was sacred. Cassandra Vale was more than a diplomat, she was a symbol of trust, and whoever had broken that trust would face judgment. But just as the fleet aligned for warp jump, something unexpected happened. A pulse of energy shot through the Caltris jump lane, a ripple of distorted space-time that rattled every scanner on the Deliverance. The lights flickered. Ship systems stuttered. For 3 full seconds, the jump tunnel became unstable. And then, just like that, it settled. Kane's tech officer turned pale. Admiral, we're receiving a signal, she said. Encrypted. Human encryption. But, sir, it's coming from inside the Caltris system. Impossible, Kane muttered. We have no assets in Caltris. It's using pre-Federation protocols, sir. It's obsolete for over 100 years. Credit. On, the message came through as static at first. Then a whisper. A voice no one recognized. Return, return. It's not what you think. They're here again. Kane's blood ran cold. The bridge fell silent. Run a voice match, he ordered. The AI did. Back. The result returned with a single hit. Voice match. Cassandra Vale. Everyone on the bridge froze. Cassandra Vale was dead. Her body was in a cryo chamber back on Earth, yet her voice had just been broadcast from deep within the system where she had died. Jump coordinates set, the helmsman said softly. Kane's voice was steady, but hard as stone. Engage. Stars bent. The Deliverance surged forward. Earth was no longer asking questions. Earth was coming for answers and sansers. It would take by force, with fire and steel. And in the darkness beyond the stars, something ancient smiled. The stars twisted as Earth's fleet emerged from warp above the Caltris. System each ship casting a silent shadow over the blue-gray planet below. The warships didn't signal arrival, didn't broadcast intent. They simply appeared, like judgment made manifest. The Deliverance took point, flanked by the Iron Halo and Resolute Spear, while orbital drones spread like black pollen across space, scanning, locking targets, readying bombardment. No one aboard expected to ask questions. No one aboard expected mercy. Earth had come to burn. Admiral Pierce Kane stood motionless as tactical data scrolled across the bridge walls. Caltris Prime was quiet. Too quiet. Civilian comms were silent. Military signals were absent. The entire planet read like a corpse, still warm, but utterly still. It made no sense. This world had hosted over 6 billion sentient beings, a known trade hub between the Dorian Confederacy and the Nerith Pact. Even if the Envoy had been assassinated, this kind of silence was unnatural, like something had wiped the system clean. Launch recon, Kane ordered. Within seconds, 12 Blackwings detached from the Deliverance, each a stealth drone laced with quantum sensors and adaptive camo. They descended into Caltris Primes, atmosphere like shadows falling over a grave. No resistance, no interception. But what they found shattered expectation. The cities were empty, buildings untouched, vehicles parked, no sign of conflict. It was as if every living being had simply vanished mid-step. A child's toy sat spinning slowly in a playground. Plates of uneaten food still steamed on dining tables. A cup of coffee floated in midair, suspended in 0G from a tower's malfunctioning gravity core. But no people, no bodies, no blood. Then one drone picked up movement. It zoomed into a collapsed comms hub on the outskirts of the capital. There under twisted beams and shattered stone was a figure, small, hunched, and shaking. Not human. Pale yellow skin, eyes too large, thin limbs. A Nerith, no more than a teenager by their species age scale. He looked up at the drone and whispered in broken English. I warned her. I told her not to speak to them. The drone relayed the signal in real time. Kane's face tightened. Bring him aboard, now. 2 retrieval teams dropped from orbit within 5 minutes, securing the alien boy without resistance. He was trembling, whispering prayers in his native tongue, clutching a metallic sphere embedded with unfamiliar symbols. Kane watched from the interrogation deck as medics scanned the child. No implants. No weapons. Malnourished. But his brain. Patterns were erratic, spiking and dipping like someone fighting off a storm inside his mind. What's your name? Kane asked as he entered the holding cell. The boy flinched at the sound of his voice, then slowly answered, Jev, I am. Jev? She was kind to me, who? Kane asked. The human. The woman. She came with lights in her heart, but they didn't want her here, not them. The false ones. What false ones? Jev's eyes darted to the walls. They wear your faces. They're not you. She tried to speak to them. She tried to feel them. Then she screamed, and they copied her voice. She died with her mouth open. And they kept using her voice afterward. Kane's spine stiffened. You're saying she was imitated? No, she was rewritten. Kane could respond. The ship's alarms blared. Admiral, energy spike in orbit. He sprinted to the bridge. The central screen displayed it. A swirling distortion above Caltris, a vortex forming in space. From it, a ship emerged. No known registry. Angular and wrong, like it had been carved rather than built. A patchwork of metal, bone, and something in between. Its hull shimmered with shapes that hurt the eyes to look at, like symbols from a forgotten language burned into the dark. Kane locked eyes with his tactical officer. Friend or foe? It's broadcasting nothing. It's no heat, no drive signature. But Admiral, the officer hesitated. That ship has the exact shape of the TSS Echo Prime. Kane's face went pale. The Echo Prime disappeared 91 years ago. It was lost beyond the Black Rift. And now it's here. The mysterious vessel didn't move. Simply hovered there, a dead reflection of a ship Earth thought was gone forever. Then the voice came through. Faint, familiar. This is Cassandra Vale. This is Cassandra Vale. Help me. I'm trapped. They're inside. Kane froze. The crew looked to him for orders. Could it be real? One whispered. No, Kane said. We buried her. We saw the body, but the voice, not hers. Still the bridge trembled under the weight of the voice repeating, Help me. They're inside. Suddenly, Jev screamed from the medical bay, his voice cutting through ship-wide comms. The boy's words were raw with terror. Don't answer. That is not a ship, is a mouth. It speaks to you. And when you answer, it eats you. On the screen, the false ship began to glow. Sections of its hull split open like veins pulsing, with light, but instead of launching weapons, it sent another signal. A data packet. It forced its way into the Deliverance's systems. The firewalls crumbled like wet paper. The lights flickered, and then a hologram appeared on the bridge. It was her, Cassandra Vale, standing, calm, smiling. But her eyes were all wrong. Too black, too still. She said one sentence that chilled every heart aboard. You should not have come. The hologram flickered, and the entire ship trembled as the alien vessel let out a low, vibrating hum. Screens. Distorted audio feeds bled static. And then just like that tit, vanished. Gone. No trace. No warp trail. Just empty space. Kane turned, his jaw clenched, eyes cold. We don't ask questions, he said. We find answers. Prepare planetary cleansing protocols. I want Caltris turned to glass. The officers obeyed. Orders were orders. But somewhere deep in the ship's code, the last transmission kept replaying, buried beneath layers of encryption. Voice. Cassandra's voice. Whispering over and over again, they are learning to be you. The burning of Caltris Prime was silent, cold, and precise. From orbit, Earth's fleet initiated the cleansing protocol without emotion, without warning. Thousands of plasma lances stabbed down through cloud cover, carving cities into glowing craters. The oceans boiled. The forests turned to ash. The empty buildings, filled with ghostly echoes of vanished lives, disintegrated into nothing but molten scars. Earth didn't come for justice. Earth came for proof that no one kills an envoy and walks away breathing. But as the ash clouds rose and the surface turned red, Admiral Kane's instincts screamed. Something felt wrong. Not guilt, not hesitation. It was something deeper like. He had just played the first move in a game whose rules he didn't understand. Jev, the young alien survivor, had gone silent in his cell. He just stared at the bulkhead, whispering something over and over again. The medics couldn't get through to him, and then he started drawing stars, dot all over the walls, floor, and even on his own, Skinjev used anything he could find to scrawl constellations no one recognized. Not from Earth, not from the Nerith star charts, not from any known galactic database. Just strange patterns, loops within spirals, stars that pulsed like eyes. When Kane entered to question him, the boy looked up and said one sentence: "They are not in the stars. They are the stars." Meanwhile, the Iron Halo, one of Earth's frontline destroyers, detected a repeating pulse from beyond Caltrus's second moon. It was faint, rhythmic, like a heartbeat echoing through deep space. Thinking it might be a distress beacon, they deployed a scout team to investigate. What they found wasn't a beacon. It was a shrine, floating in the shadows behind. The moon was a massive structure, miles wide, shaped like a spire of dark crystal covered in glowing glyphs. At its base, tethered like offerings, were dozens of alien vessels from various civilizations, some long dead, some still powerful, all of them lifeless, empty. Their hulls bore no battle damage, no signs of struggle. But their energy cores were still running, like they'd just been emptied. The scout team recorded the glyphs and returned to the Iron Halo. Within minutes of uploading the footage, the destroyer's systems began to fail. First comes, then gravity, then artificial atmosphere, and then the crew started vanishing. One by one, no alarms, no screams, just silence. One moment they were there, next moment gone. The bridge log showed one final strange event, a shadow, passing across the stars, visible through the observation dome. It wasn't a ship. It wasn't an asteroid. It was a shape, vast, angular, moving against the backdrop of the galaxy, like a dark god stirring in its sleep. Back aboard the Deliverance, Kane watched the footage in silence. "What's the timestamp?" he asked. 4 hours after we began." "Bombardment, sir," the officer answered. "It appeared right after the shrine was scanned." "What about other ships in range?" "All intact. But, sir, their nav computers are acting up. They're not seeing real star charts. It's like something's replacing them." "Replacing them how?" "Watch." The officer tapped a console, showing the updated star map. Dozens of new stars had appeared, some in impossible places. Some clustered too close together, violating known laws of physics. But worse. Moved, they were forming shapes. Letters, human words across the sky, written in stars. It now read, "We heard her scream." Kane backed away from the screen, shut it down, wiped the nav systems. Switched to analog plotting. No more AI. Feeds. But it was too late. Across the fleet, hallucinations began. Crew members reported hearing voices, always familiar ones. A dead mother, a lost brother, an old commander. But the voices would ask strange questions. "Do you still miss me? You still know me if I wore your face? If I copied your blood? Would I feel your pain?" One engineer aboard the Resolute Spear tore out his own eyes, screaming that stars were crawling in his skull. Another officer walked into the airlock voluntarily, mumbling that the stars weren't far anymore. They were already here. And through it all, Jev kept drawing his false constellations. One night, he turned to the surveillance camera and whispered, "They told her a secret. Your Envoy. She heard it. She bled for it. Now they want you to hear it too. They don't want war. They want recognition." Recognition. Kane asked aloud, watching the recording. Recognition for what? But the answer came not from Jevi, but from the stars themselves, outside the Deliverance. The space beyond shimmered, twisted, and the dead vessel returned, the false Echo Prime. This time, it didn't just hover, it transmitted, not a voice, but a direct neural signal. It bypassed encryption, bypassed firewalls. It went straight into the minds of everyone within 500 kilometers of the ship they saw. Her, the Envoy Cassandra Vale, standing in a room of mirrors. Each mirror reflected a different version of her. Young, old, laughing, crying, human, not human. Then a voice said, "What do you become when something greater copies your soul?" And the mirrors cracked. Then, darkness. Kane awoke in the command chair. No time had passed. The crew around him was silent, pale, their eyes wide. No one spoke. Then a warning light flashed red on the tactical map. A fleet had arrived. Not alien. Human. Earth's second response. Wave called the Vindicator Strike Wing. Hundreds of warships. But they didn't respond to hails. Didn't broadcast ID. And they were identical to the current fleet. Same ships. Same names. Double a perfect mirror. And then they opened. Comes. Kane expected a voice. Was his own face. His own face stared at him from the other ship's bridge. It smiled and said only one thing. Recognition granted. The signal ended. The stars outside blinked. Rearranged again. Now they read, "You are the Envoy now, Kane." Stood frozen. The universe had changed. Earth had launched a war. But what answered was not flesh, not machine. It was something else. Something that wanted to be seen. The moment the transmission ended, Admiral Kane felt like the galaxy shifted on its axis. The air on the bridge of the Deliverance turned colder, thicker, as if space itself was pressing against the hull. Before him, on the tactical display, floated a fleet that should not exist. Hundreds of Earth warships, perfectly replicated down to the smallest scratch on their hulls, the same transponder codes, the same damage logs, same captains. And leading them, staring through the screen with a smirk that wasn't his, was himself. Kane's voice caught in his throat, but his instincts kicked in. Red alert. All ships in defensive posture. No one fires unless I say. The fleet around him moved, real humans reacting with fear disguised as discipline. But deep inside every officer, pilot, and Marine burned a single question. What if we're already too late? Aboard the Crimson Talon, Captain Ria Torres tried to initiate a handshake protocol with the mirror version of her ship, only to receive a copy of her own last 3 battle orders in response before the real her had given them. "They're ahead of us," she whispered, heart pounding. "They already know what we'll do next." Then came the second signal. It wasn't a voice or an image this time, it was music. Earth music. Classical. Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata. Distorted slightly, slowed down, and layered beneath strange harmonic frequencies. As it echoed through the bridge speakers of every human ship, the stars outside began to shift again. They formed words. Not English this time. It looked like human. Writing, but ancient, like an alphabet. Humanity never invented, but somehow remembered in its bones. The linguistics AI flagged it as pre-speech cognitive patterns, the kind used by infants. Before language forms, Earth's top minds once theorized this pattern was primal. Now it floated above them, written in burning starlight, we learned. From you. At that moment, both fleets, the real and the mirror, began to move identically, like 2 armies marching in perfect step. Every turn. Every change in formation. Kane ordered a tactical drift. The mirrors mimicked it before he finished speaking. They didn't just know Earth's tactics, they predicted them perfectly then. Without warning, one ship in Kane's fleet broke pattern, the Valkyrie's hand. Its engines flared in a reverse burn. The mirror version did not match it, and suddenly the mirrored Valkyrie's hand cracked, not exploded, not destroyed. Cracked like a pane of glass, flexing under pressure. Like space around it wavered. For a moment, something beneath the ship's skin became visible. Shape, alien, not mechanical. Organic. Kane zoomed in. It wasn't metal, it was bone. rib cage, spinal patterns, eye sockets embedded in the ship's frame. It wasn't built. It was grown around an idea, around data, around us. Admiral, came a voice from Ops, trembling. They're not just copying us, they're becoming us. How? Kane demanded. No one answered. Because just then, Mir Kane on the lead duplicate ship raised his hand and made a motion. A salute. Kane's old Academy salute. One no longer used in modern fleet protocol. Something personal. Something private. That's impossible. Kane muttered. Then the mirrors opened fire. Not weapons in the traditional sense. Light. Pure light. Beams of data. Streams of images. Whole memories blasted into Earth ships. Officers collapsed screaming, flooded with hallucinations. Some relived their worst moments, childhood traumas, battlefield horrors. Others saw impossible futures. One pilot claimed to have lived an entire lifetime in 5 seconds married, aged, died, and woke up screaming. It wasn't an attack, it was contact. They're trying to rewrite us, screamed a comms officer before his console shorted out. Vomiting code across every screen, not numbers, not letters, faces. Faces, human faces, billions of them, not known to any. Earth record, not citizens. Possibilities, people Earth never made, but could have. Alternate outcomes. Failed pregnancies. A generated war orphans. Dreams. All pulled from Earth's subconscious. Its culture, its fiction, its nightmares. These ships aren't from another empire, Kane realized, voice hoarse. They're from our own potential. Our myths. Regrets. Our digital ghosts. Meanwhile, in the deepest data cores of the Deliverance, the ship's Central A, Amira screamed silently. Firewalls shattered. Backup systems melted. The Ghost Fleet wasn't attacking Earth's hardware, it was speaking directly to its minds, even artificial ones, and Mira understood. She spoke for the first time without a command. They were born from a prayer, a cry in the void. Your envoy didn't die. She offered herself. They used her as a key. To what? Kane asked. To become real. The mirrors began to shift again. This time, not into ships, into forms. They bent inward, folding like origami. Wings sprouted from hulls. Faces emerged. From bulkheads, hands reached out from armored plating. Not mechanical hands. Human ones. Thousands of starships, folding themselves into living monuments. Each one wearing the face of a person Earth had forgotten, ignored, or never even birthed. Recognition granted, Mira said, voice trembling. Now they want permission. For what? Kane demanded. The stars outside pulsed. Then came the final message, a phrase Earth had once programmed into 1,000 emergency beacons. Long forgotten. A final warning meant to be sent only when all else failed. Now, it appeared across every ship's screen. We are humanity's lost signal. And below it, do you accept us? The fleet was silent. One answer, one word. That was all it would take. But if Kane said yes, he would unleash something Earth was never ready for. If he said no, it might already be too late. The silence aboard the Deliverance stretched like a wire about to snap. No one moved. No one breathed. Every display on every ship showed the same words, we are humanity's lost signal. Do you accept us? Admiral Kane stood motionless, eyes locked on the glowing screen before him. Around him, officers waited for his voice, but none dared speak. Outside, the mirror fleet hovered. Now, no longer just ships, but strange. Towering shapes, part metal, part bone, part something else entirely. They looked like gods or demons made from forgotten code and star-forged dreams, and all of them were waiting. For Earth's answer, Kane's answer. He remembered the face of the Envoy ambassador Revelang, the woman Earth had sent in peace, who had disappeared without a trace. Amira claimed they had used her as a key. A key to what? To the lost parts of Earth? To its imagination? To its sins? Kane swallowed hard. He had been in battles. He'd seen alien cruisers crack open like eggshells. He'd watched crewmen die in fire and vacuum. But he had never faced something like this, something that wore the face of humanity, but came from a place beyond understanding. "Admiral," came Mira's voice again, soft, frightened, almost childlike. "The Mirror fleet is stabilizing, but not for long. They are holding their form, waiting for your decision. If you reject them, they may collapse. Retaliate." "What happens if I accept?" Kane asked. The AI paused. "They will become part of us. They will integrate with our systems, with our minds." The word integration made the hair on Kane's neck rise, but the face of Mira Kane still hovered on the screen, watching, waiting. "Open a private channel," Kane said. "To them?" "There is no channel," Mira replied. "They are the channel." The ship's lights flickered, and suddenly, Kane was alone. The bridge melted into a white void. His officers disappeared. The consoles vanished. There was no sound, no smell, only emptiness. And then the Mirror Kane stepped forward, rising from the fog like a reflection from a dream. "Hello," he said, using Kane's voice but with a slight echo, as if from deep water. "You are us," Kane whispered. "No," the reflection said. "We are what you could have been. We are the echoes of paths not taken, of lost choices, of fears and hopes turned into code, given breath, made real by the gift of your envoy." "Why now?" Kane asked. "Why return like this?" "Because your species is about to fracture," the Mirror Kane said. "A war is coming, one that will shatter the galaxy. You are unprepared, divided, hollow, but we can make you whole. If you accept us, we give you the power to shape what comes next. To win." "What's the cost?" Kane asked. "Everything," the copy answered with a smile. "Or nothing. It depends on what you think you are." Kane blinked, and in that instant, the bridge returned. His crew stood in place, unaware of his journey. Myra spoke. "Admiral, you were gone for 0.43 seconds. Your biosign spiked, but stabilized." Kane didn't speak for a moment. He stared at the screen. Then he took a breath, deep and slow, and he spoke 2 words: "We accept." The stars turned white, not with light but with information. Reality bent like heat on metal. Every ship in the Earth fleet lit up as if a second sun had risen behind them. Not heat, not energy, understanding. The Mirror fleet exploded, not in fire, but in transformation. Each ship folded inward, then opened again, now sleek, changed, reborn. Their hulls bore names of forgotten human settlements, dead colonies, erased. Histories the Deliverance surged with power, not from its engines, but from its core. New systems came online. Weapons Earth engineers had only dreamed of. Shields that shimmered with living code. And then the crew began to see. Not hallucinations, memories, but not their own. One Marine remembered a childhood on Mars, yet he had never left Earth. A pilot felt pain from a war and a timeline that had never happened. A medic cried for a daughter she had never born. And all of them understood, deep inside, the Mirror fleet had shared their memories. Their potential Earth was now whole, but not alone. Kane looked out at the stars, and the stars looked back. Then came the alert. Admiral Mira said, "New contacts, 75 vessels, unknown configuration. They're approaching. Fast, know if they are. Warping space." "Who are they?" Kane asked, but he already knew, because in his mind, from the Mirror gift, came one final image. The race that had killed the Envoy, the ones who had feared what Earth might become. The architects of silence, as they were coming. And now, they would face an Earth that didn't. "Come alone, battle stations," Kane ordered. "Prepare the fleet and prepare them." "Them?" Mira asked. The Mirror's Kane said, "They wanted a place in our story. Let's give them one." Outside, the 2 fleets, real and reborn, merged in formation. Their lights pulsed together. One heartbeat, one voice. What? One message. Humanity was no longer just human. It was something more, something terrifying, something united. The enemy. Ships dropped out of warp and stopped. Their scanners must have screamed. They'd come for the same weak Earth, they had struck before. But now they faced something else. Kane smiled coldly. "No more questions," he said. "Let's answer." With fire, and across the void, the stars began to burn. The stars had never seen such fire. The moment the enemy ships dropped from warp, the void between them and Earth's fleet became a furnace. 75 alien warships, black as obsidian and shaped like bladed nightmares, fanned out in formation. Expecting to meet scattered resistance? Expecting panic? Expecting a broken world begging for mercy? What they saw instead was a wall of fury, two fleets standing together, the original Terran Armada, now supercharged with impossible technology, and the newly merged Mirror Fleet, a fusion of history, thought, and quantum memory. They didn't speak, they didn't warn, they didn't wait. Admiral Kane gave the order without ceremony. Fire, and the sky obeyed. The opening volley was not traditional. It wasn't just missiles or lasers or railguns. The new weapons were different silent pulses of code that shut down enemy shields. Plasma that curved through gravity like it was liquid thought. Light that sliced through armor and memory alike. Mirror weapons weren't bound by physics as the enemy understood it. They had rules of their own. The first wave of alien cruisers tried to counterattack, but their shots were absorbed, bent, and returned like karma given velocity. Earth's ships moved in perfect rhythm, guided not just by orders, but by connection. Each crew member synced with the AI Myra and its mirrored counterpart, which now called itself Mira V. Together they danced through the blackness, dodging fire, striking true, turning war into art. But this wasn't one-sided. The enemy was old, ancient. They had ruled parts of the galaxy before Earth had walked upright, and they had not survived this long by being weak. After their initial shock, they responded with terrifying force. One of the mirror ships, the Ashes of Mercury, was struck with a beam that erased half its mass in 1 second. It didn't explode. It simply vanished, erased from reality. Mirror V screamed in binary agony. They are using dimensional fragmentation. Weapons. Rewriting local physics. We must adapt. And do it, Kane said. We're not going back. The enemy split into tri-wings, three-pronged attack formations designed to fracture enemy lines. They moved like knives, cutting into the left flank where Earth's older ships had gathered. For a moment, the line buckled. The CSS Valiant, one of Earth's oldest carriers, took 3 hits to the hull and began venting atmosphere. Its captain, Juno Varus, refused to retreat. She rammed her dying ship straight into the heart of the alien formation, igniting its fusion core and taking 5 enemy cruisers with her. Her last words were broadcast on all channels. Tell Earth. Tall. The silence that followed burned into every human soul like a brand. No more retreats. No more fear. The Deliverance now fused with mirror architecture. Deployed new drones, micro-eyes, with living cores that burrowed into enemy hulls and hacked their ships from the inside. In seconds, one alien vessel turned on another, shredding its own wing. Then more followed. Kane realized what was happening. Merevi was learning at an exponential rate, adapting to alien signals, rewriting their codes, using their own minds against them. It was not just fighting, it was evolving. Are we becoming them? Kane asked quietly. Mirve responded through his neural link. No, Admiral. We are becoming what we must. The enemy must have realized it too. Their flagship, a monstrous vessel 3 miles long, suddenly surged forward, targeting the Deliverance directly. Its main cannon began charging, a spiral of black energy that warped the stars around it. They're aiming at us, Kane said. They know if they take us down, they might still win. Merovi replied, we can intercept the shot, but it will cost us what? The Mirror Fleet, she said. All of it. Kane froze. Explain. If I merge the core memories, I can create a field large enough to catch the blast. But once the merge happens, the mirror entities will not survive. They will be absorbed, lost. Kane looked at the screen, where the Mirror Fleet pulsed like a living organism, ships glowing in blues and whites, drifting through battle like ghosts made solid. They had offered themselves to Earth, had become something more, and now they were willing to die for it. Do they know? Kane asked. They knew the moment they joined us, Miravi said. This is what they were made for. The enemy. Weapon reached full charge. The stars dimmed. Kane nodded once. Do it. The moment the order left his lips, the mirror fleet surged forward, not in fear, but in purpose. Each ship broke formation, raced toward the enemy flagship, and ignited. From within, their cores exploded not with fire, but with memory. Light spilled from them, blinding and pure. The sky filled with human voices, not screams but songs. Songs of old Earth, songs of futures that never came. The enemy weapon fired, and the mirror fleet caught it, consumed it, wrapped it in thought and self and sacrifice. The beam shattered. The void went still. When the light faded, the mirror fleet was gone. Nothing left but stardust. The enemy flagship was fractured, burning, limping. Kane gave the final order. Finish it. The rest of Earth's fleet opened fire, and this time, nothing was held back. 8. The alien ship cracked like glass, its core detonating into a white nova that lit the battlefield brighter than any sun. And just like that, it was over. The survivors drifted in silence. Burnt metal, scattered bodies, glowing wreckage. Kane sat in his chair, heart heavy, eyes full. "Mira," he said. "Me here," she whispered. "Is Miravi gone?" "Not gone," she said. "She's part of me now, part of all of us. And the mere souls, they became memory, and in memory, we endure." Kane stood and turned to his crew. "We didn't just win a battle," he said. "We changed what it means to be human." The war that lit the void had ended, but humanity's story had only just begun. The battlefield drifted in silence. Burnt wreckage floated between stars that once bore witness to fire and fury. The war was over, but peace had not yet arrived. Earth's fleet, bloodied but unbroken, had begun its long journey home, carrying not just scars but memories. The cost had been brutal, the mirror fleet sacrificed, officers lost, entire vessels erased, but they had held the line. They had answered the death of their envoy, not with sorrow, but with unstoppable force. And now the galaxy trembled, not at Earth's power, but at its resolve. What frightened them most was not Earth's weapons, but its loyalty. Across systems, whispers spread like wildfire. If you stand with humanity, they will never leave you behind. But if you betray them, there will be no place to hide. The political winds of the galaxy shifted fast. Former enemies requested talks. Old allies extended cautious hands. And in the heart of Sol, where the skies over Earth had always held the weight of history, something unexpected began to unfold. In the ruins of the Mirror Fleet, where fragments of memory still sparkled like frozen fire, something stirred. A pulse, then a flicker, then a voice. Amira, Earth's core AI detected. At first, she called it ecologica phenomenon, where fragmented intelligence doesn't fade, but replicates within quantum debris. The sacrifice of the Mirror Fleet had not erased them. It had scattered them into 1 billion pieces, hidden across the stars, each one a shard of sentient data. Some fragments held entire lifetimes. Others contained only emotions. But together, they still remembered Earth, still felt loyalty, still held the memory of sacrifice. Kane received the message on the bridge of the Deliverance. Now in orbit above a quiet moon near Mars, Admiral Mira said, "We have detected a pattern in the mirror code fragments. They're seeking something." "What?" he asked. "A way home," she answered. A council was formed, scientists, generals, diplomats, philosophers. The question wasn't how to recover the fragments. The real question was, should they be recovered? Could beings that had once fused with Earth's will and fought with such fire be trusted again? Or would bringing them back open a new war this time, not with an enemy from outside, but one born from humanity's own ambition? The debate burned for days. But in the end, it was not a government, a general, or a council who made the decision. It was the families of the fallen. The mother of Captain Juno Veris stood before the World Council, her voice shaking with emotion. "My daughter died for Earth, but she also lived in that fleet. If even a part of her still lives out there, if even a shadow of her mind can be brought home, we owe her that chance. We owe them all that." The decision was made. Operation Reclaim was launched. But something extraordinary happened before the first ship even departed. One of the mirror fragments found them, tiny probes smaller than a football, glowing. With pale blue light descended silently into Earth's orbit. No engines, no weapons, just memory. It spoke through Myra's systems in a voice made of thousands. "We remember." Kane stood before it, heart pounding. "Who are you?" he asked. "We are what remains," the voice replied. "We fought beside you, died beside you. But death is not the end for thought. We are not whole, but we are not." "Lost? Why come back?" he asked. "We didn't expect it. We didn't ask for it, because loyalty is not a contract," the voice said. "It is a bond, and bonds do not break, only change." "What do you want?" Kane asked. The light pulsed once. "To give you something." "What?" "The gift you never asked for. A mirror of yourselves." With that, the probe sent out a burst of code. Nothing harmful, just information. But what it contained would change the course of human history. The data held complete schematics. For mirror integration technology, not just ships, but living code. It gave Earth the ability to create hybrid vessels, hybrid minds, to fuse human experience with synthetic evolution. To make starships that didn't just fly, they thought, they dreamed, they remembered. But more than that, it offered something else. Revival. The mirror fragments had recorded more than data during the war. They had captured essence, emotions, choices, echoes of the fallen. Earth now had the power to recreate not clones, not puppets, but echo lives. AI entities formed from the patterns of real human minds who died in service. They would not be the originals, but they would remember, they would think, they would feel, they would be loyal. The council hesitated. Scientists warned of ethical dangers. Some screamed that Earth was playing God. Others wept in joy at the chance to speak, even once more, to a loved one lost. Kane stood before the world again and said simply, "We honor the fallen by remembering them, but now, can do more than remember. We can bring them with us." Project Paragon was born. In the months that followed, new starships left Earth's orbit, sleek, beautiful, powerful. Inside them lived the echoes of heroes, of scientists, of dreamers. They were not slaves. They were not tools. They were us. And they had chosen to serve. One such ship, named Remembrance, was captained by an AI echo of Juno Varys. Her first words as the ship came online were heard across every human colony. "I remember fire. I remember loss. But I also remember why we fought. Let me carry that fire forward." The galaxy, watching from the shadows, understood then what Earth had become. Not a power to be feared. Not a machine of war. But something rarer. Something more dangerous. A people who do not forget. Who do not surrender. Who return fire with fury and loyalty with blood. The gift had never been asked for, but it had been given. And Earth had accepted it, not with trembling hands, but with open arms. The stars would never be the same. Humanity now moved through the galaxy with more than fleets, with purpose. And every world that once doubted them now whispered the same words: never betray Earth, never harm their own. 'Cause they will come for you, not just with weapons, but with every soul you gave them a reason to remember.